Hey yo, it's your boy Monster Man Rocco.
It's your boy Swagger Rock.
This is Snack the Ripper.
And you have to go to don't know.
This is Master Ace. You are not rocking with the best.
Breaking records, man. Radio is like the place to be. I don't fuck strange music, man.
You are now tuned in to Breaking Records Radio. My name is Alex, and I have here with me Rhymrcka, with affiliation with Wu-Tang's Killer Bee Army. The MC and producer has dropped a lot of heat over recent years, with the newest single, The Matrix, out now over a classic BBK beat. What's good, my man?
It's good, baby. Out here doing what I'm doing, campaigning, man. Pushing that Matrix.
Oh, man, that sounds good. That's what I like to hear. Man, I said it at the beginning of the call, but I can't thank you enough for taking the time out to speak to me here today. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
The love is mutual, man. You're showing love, man. I got to show love back, man.
100%.
Love don't know no bounds, man. You got to go where they feel you, man. You got to support those who support you, you know?
No doubt.
So it's just...
Yeah, I generally end up liking to start with some history before we get into some new content, and I do want to talk about the new content that you have on the way as well. But starting with history and kind of taking it back as far as we can, how did you end up getting started with hip-hop culture? How'd you get introduced to it?
I don't know how I got introduced to it because it was just there. It happened. It was just there. Like one day you probably was listening to R&B. Next thing you know, started hearing that Good Times. It was like the park jams. Basically, yeah, the park jams. When people would come out in droves in their neighborhood and be a DJ and all that, and playing everything. You know, it'd be all the classic R&B, classic rocks, Billy Squire, everything. I mean, like Chic. You know, from Billy Squire to Chic, that's a range. So it went from that, and then the MCs just started talking over the music. And then from the talking, they started rhyming. That's just history. It's been, you know what I'm saying? It's been that ever since.
So did you identify with it right away as soon as you started hearing those like MCs in the park?
Yeah. Because it's the music of our generation.
Yeah.
Like you gotta understand something. We're part of our own genre. You know, we don't have to subscribe to R&B. R&B subscribes to hip hop. It makes hip hop sounding music.
Yeah, fair
so
enough.
We're our own genre, man.
So when you ended up getting introduced to that, were you kind of practicing rapping right away? Was that something that you were actually interested in? Or were you dancing, graffiti, DJing? Was there other elements that you were involved in? Or?
Well, actually, I mean, I went through a lot of hip-hop. I didn't want to rap in the beginning. I wanted to be a graffiti artist. I like to draw. But, you know, you got to go outside bombing late at night. I was a little kid. Like I said, I was young in it. So you got to go sneak out at night. My mom's had the hands of God, so she kind of shut that down. So once I couldn't, real talk.
Yeah.
So since I couldn't do it all the way, and it was just trapped to, you know, writing on paper and stuff like that, it wasn't no need for me to develop. And then I moved on to dancing, and just, you know, the styling, the dancing, you know, the gear. And then rap was like my last choice.
When you were drawing, what were you writing as? Were you writing as Rhymrcka back then, or I assume something different?
No, I was a kid, so I was kind of corny, but I was still practicing. Like I still practice to this day.
Fair enough.
It's like that's like my personal hobby when I need to chill or something like that. I don't know what it is about drawing, but it takes total focus. I guess, you know, the shapes, designs, and the colors. So it's like my therapy now.
Yeah, it's a different art form, and if you're already creative, it's nice to be able to express that in different outlets.
Yeah, that and photography. So that's like my little outlets right there.
So do you plan on doing all your own like illustrations, and you mentioned photography as well, but photography for your album art and all that as well? Do you do all of that yourself?
I do all my artwork. I've done pretty much all my artwork. I've done the promo artwork you've seen for the autobiography. The Lookout Boy, I did the covers. I pretty much do all the covers. I did the Matrix cover.
That's super
I'm
dope.
pretty hands-on.
So when did you actually start writing? You mentioned that you were into a couple different things first, but when did you actually start kind of putting down the pen to the pad and writing, taking it seriously?
Um, that has to, trying to do it is one thing. Actually taking a pen to it before even thinking about a record deal, just trying to rap.
Yeah.
I don't know, like a little after 9, like after 10. I said my first rhyme at 10, in the hallway, and that's how I really got face to face with MCing, because on the weekends, the older guys, they would smoke weed and drink 40s, and they'd be rhyming in the hallway. So my moms would be like, take the garbage out. Now, weekends, like Fridays, Saturdays, you might be lucky to catch them freestyling. So the guy be in the, corner doing the beatbox, and they'd be rhyming all night. And that's how I used to come out, take out the garbage. And little by little, I just keep paying attention to the staircase. Next thing you know, I just left the garbage on the side. I'm just in the staircase listening to them.
Was it the same type of music that you were listening to back then that you listen to now? That I imagine that
Nah.
kind of gritty, like Wu-Tang type shit?
Nah, not even. I mean, it was, it was old school. Back then, it was just 808 drums.
Gotcha.
Just big drums back then. The boom. Like,
So when
and
did
Rick
the
Rubin, like all
Yeah.
the classic stuff.
when did the Wu-Tang brand then end up coming to be? Because right now you're kind of affiliated with that Wu-Tang Killer Bees. When did that end up starting, and how did that end up coming together?
I mean, they would have to answer that question better than me. I mean, 93, you got it. I mean, you just, living in the neighborhood, you seeing it. So it's kind of weird for me to explain something I've seen happen in front of, like living in the same life,
Yeah.
same time, same hood, same hour. So it's like, you watching it happen. It's kind of surreal. I don't know, it's kind of weird. But yeah, it's always fun because, the Abbott and Jizzle came out first. So they was already in the groove already. They was already planting these seeds. That thing was already set. You can tell by the way it lined up. You can tell it was already set. That's some real shit.
So it was RZA that you ended up meeting first?
No. Everybody lived around the way. Everybody lived in either Stapleton or Park Hill. So you see each other in crossing. And on the island, pretty much whatever you into, you're gonna meet other people that's into the same interests and hobbies you got. So when hip hop culture it hit everybody.
Yeah.
Once how you dress already told people what you listen to.
Yeah.
So that was everybody knew each other.
Yeah, the Wu-Tang brand is really interesting. Like, there's so many of these Wu-Tang affiliates, and though it adds legitimacy to the name, you must get tired of some of these no-names that seem to cloud the space, that devalue the brand. I'm not saying that's the case for yourself. You obviously have a connection kind of growing up in the same area, in the same neighborhoods. But what's your take on all these people you have the Wu-Tang Northwest division and all this shit that seems to just cloud and maybe devalue that Wu-Tang brand. At least that's how I end up perceiving it. But what's your take on that?
I don't know all the subgroups. I couldn't tell you. I've been focused on what I do. Those are situations that I'm not even a part of. So I can't really explain that.
Fair enough. Tell me about the new album. So, is this track here, The Matrix, is that, is it going to be kind of like a mixtape sort of thing with previously used instrumentals? Like The Matrix ended up using the instrumental for Big Daddy Kane's classic beat there.
Yeah.
Is that something that the
no,
mixtape's going to kind of be about, or is it going to be entirely new production, or?
No, it's going to be new production, some classics. When you hear me on a classic beat, because I've probably loved that beat since the first time I heard it when I was a kid. And that's just me, paying homage and then just doing it because I would love to have done it if I had the chance or opportunity, when it presents itself, if it presents itself. So it's all art. Some of them are just, homage, like definitely to BDK. I've heard that song, that beat, itself, so you already know he's an influence.
Yeah, that beat's amazing. Like it's so much different than anything else that came out in that era. It's like it sounds like it came out of like 94, 95. It doesn't even sound like the rest of like Marley Marl's production at that period of time. It's light years ahead of its time.
Definitely. if sit here in 2020 and talk about it with the same energy like you first heard it, that saying that's the test of time and touch it. I mean, some producers out here have made some great pulls, made some great loops, some great numbers, and chopped them up into greater, even bigger classics to live on afterwards. So you do it a great way with that great vibration that generates the energy. And so to this day, you know what I'm saying? That's the power of the music.
So the mixtape that you have coming out, do you have a title or anything?
I don't have a
for that?
mixtape. I don't have a mixtape. It's going to be an album. But,
it is going to be an album, okay.
EP. Yeah. It's going to be an album.
Do you have a title or anything for the new album? Or EP?
Yeah, but I'm not telling anybody the title yet. But I will definitely let you know beforehand.
Fair enough.
I'll give you the scoop on it,
Do you have any set kind of release date or anything kind of in mind? Even if it's not necessarily a release date, but do you plan on putting it out by the end of the year, or?
I try not to give a false date. I like to give out the date closer to, but I'm trying to get end of the year. I definitely want to do that, and then seeing how this COVID situation is, you gotta judge it how the climate, how the system is changing. Yeah.
Yeah, the COVID thing's crazy. It's made everything so unpredictable when it comes to putting out anything or marketing stuff. It's just, it's unpredictable, and it's a totally foreign environment. It's hard to be able to kind of judge.
Yeah, it stopped industries. It stopped the sports industry. It stopped the music industry, the movie industry, the fashion industry. That's crazy. These are industries that keep going 24 hours, 365. And don't stop. They stop industries. Like, put a pause on them.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, huge.
That's insane.
Yeah, and as an artist that you're up and coming and you're not necessarily experienced with putting out new releases and marketing it and going through that whole campaign, it's like an unprecedented time. There's no one that you can turn to in order to get guidance on how to run it during this period of time.
Well, it's definitely never been here before, this era.
Yeah.
The dynamics of it. So you just gotta, I think, stick to your plan. Content is what's moving now. Like, overall audio visual is the general foundation of it now. You have your, you have your audio, you have your visual, but it's mostly going to be audio visual and just content. So that's like the lifeblood right now, is the content. And learn how to present your content, how to preserve it, and knowing how to, I guess, dispense it according, with what's going on. So, like, you see how everybody has to change their way of doing interviews, due to the pandemic situation we got to deal with. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to keep it all in tune. Keep y'all all in tune and keep everything in a way that it fits with the time it comes out.
Getting back to the album talk here, do you plan on having a physical run of this release, say tape, CD, vinyl? Are you planning on pushing out physical product, or is it just going to be digital only? Or is that something that you haven't decided yet?
I've decided, but I'm undecided. Like, you want to do the vinyl, some nostalgic, analog, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just to keep that feel going. I mean, it's I don't know, it's almost like when you do it too, it's like vintage, kind of make yourself vintage in a good way, creatively. So it's something to think about still.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of physical media myself, even if it ends up being CDs or tapes, whatever it ends up being. It's something that, I guess for various reasons, it adds value to the art, I find, but it also increases kind of replayability, right? I have so many albums on my hard drive, and I never go through and listen to like random shit I downloaded 10 years ago. But so often I'll be going through my shelf and I'll be like, oh fuck, I haven't listened to this in 12 years. I haven't listened to this in 15 years, whatever it ends up being. And I'll pull it off the shelf. I'll bring it into the car. We'll listen to it in the tape deck or in the CD player, whatever it ends up being. Put it on the record player. I don't do that with digital media, but I will do that with something physical. So I think there's multiple different avenues for why physical media is important, but I'm personally a fan of physical media. But at the same time, I understand the I guess the practicality of it as well.
Practicality, technology, and the way the world is moving.
Yeah.
That's what makes it, viable, and to, keep us moving forward. They destroy older technology. They don't have to, but as soon as they get rid of it, maybe it's, part to push us into technology we may not want, because they're not going to make the older technology or what have you. But that's what creates this practicality. You said you look at a shelf and you see records and they draw you to it. At the same time, it took up a lot of space in your house. Now you got all those records on the phone. You got all that space in the house now. So, but it's about that feel. It's about that feel.
Yeah, it's totally different. It's a different environment that people are growing up in, right? And I feel like they're less connected to the music, but at the same time, it does end up having its benefits in terms of space, in terms of just time and effort that's required to actually go ahead and listen to music. It's totally different nowadays. And I think there's obviously benefits and negatives to that. And I think there's benefits to the artist as well. It's a lot easier to be able to get your music heard by people, but it's maybe less,
right there on the spot.
Yeah, but it's more difficult in order to get a return on investment on that listen, right? It doesn't matter so much if you end up getting one head to listen to it. That doesn't necessarily turn into dollars in your pockets as easily as it did, say, 20 years ago.
I think two things is important for having music, all electronic. You have a blackout or a power outage, a serious one.
Yeah.
And it wipes out everything. That means our history is gone. So hard copies are important, to have records, to have recorded history, to have things that are not easily destroyed, as such as losing a file on a computer and it's gone forever. But you got hard copies. So that's the most, that's an important thing.
Yeah, that's something that I deal with myself a lot.
Also, the second part is it's easier to count and keep tally of how many CDs you sold. You understand what I'm saying? You can count the records, you can count the CDs, but online they can tell you any number.
Yeah, fair enough. You're actually relying on somebody else in order to tell you your own statistics and your own data, which I never really thought of it that way. But yeah, you're right. That does end up. I don't know. There's something uneasy about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I deal with that myself. Like I deal with a lot of research on hip hop music, and I'm writing a book right now on the development of hip hop in Canada. And with that, I'm doing a lot of interviews, and just being able to actually keep that data, let it be a hard drive crash or whatever, especially before it ends up being published, is difficult, right? So you do as many possible things as you can in order to back that information up on any kind of variety of information or media as possible. Let that be due transcripts and then print it off, house it in different archives. The longevity of that information is really important, and that's really important when it comes to music as well. There's so many different records and tapes that I write about at this period of time, let it be local rap from Vancouver or Toronto or Halifax, and it's so hard to find. Most of it is just lost, right? Let it be recorded on some 4-track back in the day, or maybe they did end up pressing up 20 kind of handmade tapes and they passed them out to friends. Those things are hard to find. And if it was kind of in the digital era, that stuff is impossible to locate because the website went down, right? Their MySpace page is gone. That information's just lost forever. At least if it's on some kind of physical media, there's some way that you can end up tracking that down eventually. But otherwise, the information's just gone. And I think in like 20, 30 years, when historians or just like ethnomusicologists, whatever it ends up being, are going back on this era, looking at this era and trying to learn more about it, they're going to run into like serious roadblocks with the fact that everything is digital. So your first point there, I hear you 100%. Your second point, I never thought of myself, but that's 100% true.
Yeah. It's just that's the retail part, you know, like,
Yeah.
and even then, you never knew how many numbers. I remember one time I was watching this Travis Smiley. He had Prince on there, and it said, it said that you sold 24 million records, and Prince said that's what they said.
Yeah. Fuck, right? Like,
I was like, wow. He said that's what they said.
yeah. It's a powerful point, but it is a point. That's reality.
Yeah.
So what are you currently working on besides this new album? And actually, if you are still working on this new album, how far into that are you actually? Are you pretty much done and wrapped up, and you're just kind of figuring out a way in order to promote it and market it, or?
Well, I mean, the ideas are there.
Yeah.
Probably a quarter in, maybe 35% in, but seeing the length of the album is short, so that kind of feels like it's, you know, almost done. But it's
Gotcha.
just, it's more like it's not so much that old pressure deadline album. Nah, I'm marinating in it, you know. I'm letting it vibe. Sometimes I walk away from the music, clear my head, come back to it, because I want to really give out some good product. I want to make good, genuine, you know, pure, real hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And I want
Gotcha.
and the only way to keep that genre or that style of music going is to keep putting out good product, so that the next people who come behind you and they got room to breathe, they can keep pushing that line. You know.
Are you producing the majority of this album yourself, or this EP yourself, or are you kind of handing it off to different producers?
I produce quite a few joints on there. I got
Gotcha.
I got Phantom on there. I got Carol from Top Star on there. I got a couple people. Like I'm not trying to hoard it. You know what I'm saying? Because I want the best product. I want to put out good product. So you got to know when to. You know what I'm saying? Well, this one sound great. This would be a better fit. This complements the whole and not just one self. You know what I'm saying? Self-serving gratification for a record.
Yeah, fair enough. So beyond this album here, what are your plans for, say, the end of the year? Are you dropping more singles in similar vein as The Matrix, or?
Just wait and see. Yeah. I've been pretty much very, you know what I'm saying, when I did Autobiography, and then I went to Lookout Boy, you know, I try to break them up. I don't, you know, it's easy to get pigeonholed. So I try to keep varying to different styles of me.
Fair enough. So where can people find you social media wise? I know your Instagram's pretty active, but can you just plug your social media for the people that are home listening?
My Twitter and my Instagram is spelled the same as RHYMRCKA. That's for Instagram and Twitter. My Facebook is the same spelling, RHYMKA.
Perfect.
Check me out on there. The website is dcmdigital.net, and for all booking and information, email is dcmglobal@gmail.com.
Perfect. And for those listening at home, definitely take the time out to go listen to Rhymrcka. Dude's really fucking nice on the mic, and I'm excited for any kind of future project that you end up putting out. I'm excited for this EP. I'm definitely going to be a longtime fan, 100%. If you do end up dropping that physical media, let it be a CD or a tape, vinyl, whatever it ends up being, I'll definitely cop that on my end as well.